In this video, we'll be covering the planning of an assessment event by an assessor through the new high-risk work assessor portal. You'll notice on the top right here that I'm logged in as an assessor with my assessor number. And typically, when an RTO nominates an assessment event to you for planning, you'll receive an email and you can click a link to go directly to that assessment event. In my case, I'm going to use the search function, jump over to AENs, search for my assessment, and you'll see that I've got a nominated assessment here for action. So if we go into it, we'll see that we have a whole bunch of details, our AEN number, the class that it's for, in this case SI, the RTO that sent it to us, the status that it's in this case nominated, the assessor, which is us, and the date that it was created. We've also got our event details, so in this case knowledge, calculations, performance. We've got a special conditions field and the candidate details field. So I'll direct your attention just to the top here, and you'll see a little warning message. In the case of SI, it is an assessor's responsibility to check a candidate has achieved competency in prerequisite classes before allocating to AEN. So this is just an advisory message for you guys to make sure that you're checking that they have the required prerequisites. An advisory message that's yellow will not stop you from going through the system. Typically, if you get an error message, it'll be red, and I'll demonstrate that to you later. So just keep an eye out on these ones. You can just push through them, but it's important to note of what they say. So let's put in some knowledge details. Remember that to plan an assessment event, you'll need to plan an assessment event 3 days in advance. In this case, we have Wednesday the 24th, Thursday the 25th, Friday the 26th, so the earliest that we can plan is the 27th. Now in the event that I choose the 25th, and we'll put in a time, we'll put in an address, and we'll choose our suburb. If we now use the copy button on the right here, it will copy all of these details to the calculations and the performance assessments. So go ahead and click that. You'll be given a confirmation. Once you select yes, you'll be given an error in this case. Now the error that we're looking at is the start date must be after the 26th of the 2nd, 2021. So if we head back to knowledge and head over to the 26th, this is our 3 days. The 27th will be the Saturday, and you can plan this assessment event for the Saturday. An important thing to note is that this will pick up public holidays. So any public holiday will not count as a working day, and therefore the validation will tell you that you need to plan for a different date. And in particular, the Echo Show holiday for Brisbane will be picked up in this. So if you're in a different region to Brisbane and wondering why you may not be able to plan across 3 days, despite the fact that it's not a public holiday in your region, it's because the ECHA is counted in the public holidays for our office hours. So if we select the 27th, we select our copy button, select yes on our confirmation, you'll see that now we've copied the details to the calculations and the performance assessment types. If you don't want to copy the details, you don't need to, you can manually type them in. Just keep an eye on your times. And once you get to the performance, your performance cannot start at the same time as your knowledge and your calculations. So you can change your performance to any time that's later than the knowledge and the calculations. If you're running an assessment where you're not sure how long your knowledge and calculations are going to run, and you're not starting a performance at a predetermined type, it's highly recommended that you start your performance at a time something like this, maybe 15 minutes later than knowledge and calculations. That way, once you finish your knowledge and calculations, you can immediately start the performance assessment. However, if you choose a time like 8, and hypothetically, if you were to finish knowledge and calculations at 7:30, once you get to the results entry stage later down the track, you cannot enter results until the performance start time. So consider that when you're choosing your times. In this case, we'll go for 7:15. And if we scroll down a little bit further, we have special conditions. Special conditions covers 2 areas that need approval by Licensing Operations and Compliance Unit. The first one is Auslan required, and the second one is candidate is an assessor. So if one of the candidates that are in this list are also an assessor, you will need to seek approval and add that document to this assessment event notification before you can go ahead and conduct that assessment. The second one is the Auslan interpreter, which is the sign language interpreter. You will also need to seek approval for this before you can go ahead and assess them in this AEN. If you select any of these options, you'll be presented with a screen to add a document, and you can go through the process where you select the file, upload the document, and then proceed through the assessment event. Now, if we head down to the candidates, you can see we've got our candidate allocation. At the moment, there is no selection made. To plan an assessment event, we must select yes or no on every single candidate. And selecting yes will mean that you are planning that assessment event with that candidate attending. Selecting no will remove the candidate from that assessment event. If everybody in the assessment event is going to attend, you can select allocate all. Otherwise, you can select individual selections. So in this case, I'm going to select 3, which are yes, and we'll select 1 as a no. If we now go ahead and plan this assessment event, before we do, we will remove our Auslan required, hit our plan button. It'll give you a confirmation whether you're sure you wish to plan this assessment event. The RTO will be notified of any candidates that were not allocated. So if we select yes, you'll see you'll need to provide a reason to the RTO as to why a candidate isn't allocated. In our case, training number 2, and we'll supply a reason before we go ahead and plan this assessment event. So once the assessment event is planned successfully, you'll get a notification in blue up the top, and you'll be taken back to your home page. If you searched, you'll be taken back to the search page. Otherwise, you'll most often be taken to the home page. If we now head back into the same assessment event, you'll notice that it's been planned, and you'll notice that you now have only 3 candidates in that assessment event, the 3 that you chose to allocate. If we need to make any edits to those candidates, we can select the edit buttons on the right, and you'll notice that for an assessor, you can change the contact number, the email address, the street address, the suburb, the postcode, and the state. In the event that they have any previous results, they'll appear here. You'll notice that you cannot change the assessment types for this candidate. Now, if this candidate should be attending this assessment event for knowledge and calculations only, and they're here for knowledge calculations performance, the best way to deal with this situation would be to go back to your main page, select the candidate, select no on the allocation, plan it again, and provide the RTO the message as to why they shouldn't be in this event. In that case, you would be saying something like, please change to knowledge and calculations only. Once you do that, we can do it again, and we'll provide our reason. Once we've got our reason, we can hit the plan button, and we're taken back to our screen. At this point, the RTO will receive a notification to do something with that assessment event and change that candidate.